Welcome to the Speak with People podcast, where we believe that healthy communication is the key to unlocking your leadership potential. We are the go-to resource for leaders looking to greatly improve their communication skills, whether it's one-on-one interactions, team settings, public speaking, or digital communication. By improving these skills, leaders can create stronger connections and drive positive change within their organizations. Each and every episode, we sit down with experts from various fields from around the world, just like you're grabbing a coffee with them, to dive into real practical conversations. Our goal is to help you transform your communication skills so you can lead more effectively, build stronger relationships, and make a lasting impact. So go grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's learn together. Well, how do you build wealth? How do you build generational wealth? How do you lead with influence? And then actually enjoy the process as you're doing it all without burning out or getting stuck in the grind somewhere. Well, many of us leaders, we hustle hard, but we still feel stuck and we wonder why success just doesn't feel like freedom, or freedom just doesn't come from all of it. Well, welcome to Speak with People podcast. Great leaders just don't speak. They connect, inspire, and lead through healthy communication. I'm so honored you're joining us today. Our guest, Edgar Zavala, amazing Marine Corps veteran, award-winning coach, wealth strategist, helps high performers escape the 9-to-5, build generational wealth. I've been following for a while. I've just looked forward to this episode forever, especially as our family is trying to position ourselves into the future. And I know that this episode is just going to be amazing for you as well. Edgar, thank you so much for being on the Speak with People podcast.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me on. I'm delighted. And again, it's a blessing to be here today with you, brother. I'm super excited to get, value across to the listeners, and let's change some lives together.
I love it. And I'm jealous. It was about, oh goodness, I'm gonna date myself here. It was about 20 years ago. I had a job offer in your neck of the woods, and almost moved out. And
Wow.
it was really close.
What held you back?
Well, my wife and being close to her family. So
Got it. For sure.
yeah.
Family's important though.
Yes. Yep. So we spent another 20 winters in Michigan suffering from the cold. And then finally 5 years ago, we moved to Tampa. So at least we've escaped the cold.
Got a little bit of both, right? You got to get the end of the spectrums, right? Cold. That's right. And then hot, right?
That's right.
So yeah.
Well, hey, before we hop into the conversation, why don't you give us a little bit more of your story, who you are, what you do, what's gotten you to this place?
Yeah. So, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, raised in my entire life by a single mother, my mother's been an inspiration for me. She's been a motivation. She's been a role model for me since I was little, and pretty much just seeing the essence of what a hardworking person just is involved with. Right. And, when I think someone who works hard, someone who is consistent, someone who has dedication, determination, she comes to mind. And so that's been rooted in me since I was a young guy, a young boy. And so growing up, I wanted more. I've always been ambitious. I've always been driven. That's just kind of like the spirit that's been in my blood. Right. And so from there, I pretty much, listened to Marines. I wanted to get out of Brooklyn in New York City, travel the world. I got exposed to the actual world. Right. Growing up in New York City, I'm sure you heard of it, but New York City, we think that we're the center of the universe. And so I listened to the Marine Corps, and I met so many different people from so many different cultures, so many different backgrounds. I said, wait, New York City is not the only place that exists on the map. Okay. And I got introduced to many people. And by that connections, they say your network is your net worth. Eventually, one of those connections that I had in the military, one of my buddies that I served with while I was stationed in Japan, led me into financial services. And being in financial services, it's when I started realizing that I can get paid by my value, not just by my time. And so we're so indoctrinated and we're so conformed. And so we just accept that, hey, if you get this job, this good paying job, then you're going to be just okay. But remember, time is limited. Money is unlimited. They print it every single day. And that's when my two worlds collide. And I got into financial services, literally the highest paying industry out of all industries. I use my talents, my skill sets, my leadership skills, and I never look back. And my life has completely changed 100%. And looking back, I'm like, wow, the little kid from Brooklyn who wanted to be, the first baseball playing astronaut when he was young, is now a top six-figure agency owner in international and national firm. So it's amazing.
That's incredible. Okay, so it probably goes without being said, but let's just dive into it. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
you're a Yankees fan then?
Oh, of course,
Yep.
100% I'm a Yankees fan. I think man, Yankees just they're that franchise. You can't mess with the Yankees. Now, obviously, we have some Mets fan as well, but that's what the Subway Series is all about in New York
Ah,
City. That's what the Subway Series is all about. But you got to be a different breed. For all my listeners, if you're a Mets fan, you got to be a different breed to be a Mets fan. All right, because Mets they love the wins, right? Yankees, we're so used to winning so much that like we win, and it's like okay, let's get the World Series. But Mets, they get a W, they get a win, and the Mets fans they turn it up. They have a lot of fun, right? So that's what I would say.
I love it. Well, we're sort of in the second New York down here in Tampa because, spring training
Oh
is
yeah,
amazing and the
oh yeah,
Yankees
sure,
spring training is right here. And
yeah.
when you go to a Tampa Bay Rays games, there's more Yankees hats in the stadium than there are Rays. It's just incredible. Just
That's how you
incredible.
know.
That's right. That's right. I was at a spring training game this last year and got within about 10 feet from Aaron Judge. And I was just like, I mean, it is, you know, he was the kindest. He was talking to everybody, but then he was so giant. I was like, holy cow. I mean, it's just amazing watching him.
That's what I'm saying. Some of these new baseball players, this new era, this new generation is a bunch of big hitters now. So yeah, it's pretty awesome stuff.
I love it. Okay, so let's just dive into your story here for a second. So, it sounds like your mom was just unbelievable influence in your life. So, was she happy with the Marine Corps decision, or was she like, I don't want you to leave? How did that go down?
That's a great question. No, I would say that no parent is usually super comfortable unless they come from a military family,
Sure.
right? And so no family is super comfortable knowing that their son has to put the uniform on and pretty much go fight for the country in a sense, right? Just you never know what can happen, and
Yeah.
so when I said that I wanted to go to the military, the way it happened was I never told her that was the plan. I never said that that's what I wanted to do. I just was getting my good grades. I was minding my business. I was being a good student, and I was still applying for colleges to make her feel good. Like, Ma, look at the college I'm getting approved for. Look, I just got, I just applied for this college, this college. She's
Yep.
like, wow, that's an amazing college, and I was getting all the perks. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I already see myself wearing the uniform. And so I didn't want to stress her out too much because she works so hard already that I was like, I don't want to put an extra burden on her and her be at work thinking like, oh my goodness, my son, this and this and this. But no, immediately the moment I graduated from high school, I was already talking to a recruiter in my junior year of high school. So the moment I got my high school transcript, the moment I graduated from high school and I got my high school diploma, that same summer I was
Wow.
off on the
Wow.
next bus to Paris Island.
Wow. Why the Marines, not the Army, Navy, Air Force?
Yeah, well, I would say that, I respect all the branches. I love all my brothers and all my sisters in arms, but we all know, for all my service members here, no competition. Come on now. The few, the proud. We know that the Marines, we're the hardest branch, right? Like, we have a 3-month boot camp. Okay. Right now, the Army, don't get me wrong, my soldiers, but the Army, they have like, they have stress cards now in boot camp. Okay. We don't even know what that is. It's a stress card. And so the Marines, for me, I'm very competitive. I'm
Mm,
very competitive. I want to be challenged. I want to be pushed. And I knew that the Marines was just going to do that. It says the few and the proud.
yep.
And so I knew that if I'm going to put the uniform on and if I'm going to push my limits, I'm going to push my body and I'm going to put my life on the line. If it came down to it, I wanted to be part of the branch that could really make me a better individual. And I'm actually glad that I did it because it transformed me in a way that has now transitioned into my civilian life and into business. And so
Wow.
I think the Marines just it's much more of a dogfight being a Marine.
Wow, that's incredible. So as we kind of transition now into this, I mean, you help people every single day think about their future, think about building wealth, those kind of things. What's the biggest lie people tell themselves about building wealth and success?
Great question. I would say the biggest lie is that, you need to come from a wealthy family, or that you need to, like, just come across a lottery ticket to just make it, that you got to get lucky. I don't think you get lucky. I think you put yourself in a position where luck can happen.
Ooh,
And so, right. And I think that all the time, people say, well, that person's just lucky. Well, no one just gets lucky. People get blessed by God. And so, I think that as long as you, in your mind, you change your mindset, right? Once you change your mindset, then you change your habits. Once you change your habits, habits become actions. Then actions become a reality. And
wow.
so, first change this, and then your environment and the material will change right afterwards. And so, like for me, right? Think about it. I should not be here on this call right now with you. I grew up from Brooklyn, in Bushwick, Brooklyn. I could have been a statistic.
Mm.
I could have been incarcerated. I could have not been alive. I could have been in gangs, in drugs. I could have just ended up being a person working in the corner store at a bodega, or whatnot. And but here I am speaking to you, and I'm blessed, and that's because I shifted this.
Yeah.
Well, it is. And so, one more thing, too, as well. The biggest myth is that our past determines our future. We think that just because our parents have this and our grandparents have this and our last name means this, that it means that means it's gonna be the same thing for the next generation. It's like if you have it in your heart and you have it in your mind, it's been there put for a reason. So if the mind if the mind can believe it, you can conceive it. All right. I say all the time, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So don't let go of that desire, of that ambition. If it's in your mind, if it's in your heart, get after it. That's what I would say.
Wow. Okay, so go back to your mom for a second. Do you feel like some of these thoughts that are so ingrained in you as you look back at your childhood, were some of those she just kind of pounded in you? Was it just a mixture of that to the Marines to your competitive nature? Where do you think the some of this kind of originated and formed?
I guess I would say there's a thing called nature versus nurture,
Mm.
right? And so, nature means, what's already kind of in you. Nurture means what's in the environment. And I think that, sometimes people use nurture in their environment as an excuse as to why they don't want to grow, they don't want to win. And so I think naturally, I was always inclined to just growing and achieving and chasing and, challenges. And I guess I got that from my mother, seeing her work super hard and never complaining. Never once did I ever see her complain about anything. Even if we barely had food on the table, or if maybe we were behind on bills, or maybe we didn't have the best living space, or maybe we were in a small room, in an apartment in Brooklyn somewhere. Um, I never saw her complain. So I guess I got that from her in the sense of like work ethic and grinding, determination, discipline, putting your head down and getting after it and just really grinding it out. But then the military gave me discipline, gave
Mm.
me order, allowed me to develop more of my leadership ability because the military was a much bigger beast. And so when I first got into military, I took a lot of my old habits in Brooklyn into the military, and let's just say I learned real quick that you can't do whatever you want or say whatever you want in the military. So that was a big slap in the face. And all my people that were in the military served with me, they know the stories. They know me. They know what happened. They know all that stuff, and they know that I learned quickly. And so it's a mixture of both for sure, right there. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, so you teach a lot this kind of 5F formula as you kind of balance all of this. Could you kind of walk us through this a little bit?
Yeah, so the organization that I'm a part of and the brokers that I'm a part of, it's a huge and amazing company, and we believe in the 5F formula: faith, family, fitness, finance, and fun. And so the problem is right now, most people, they either want to be comfortable or they want to make a lot of money. And you can't have two things at once, right? And so people want to be comfortable and happy, and people want to have money and be happy. And again, you can't do two things at once. And so you have to implement things into your life that bring more value. And so when you do the 5Fs, the first one is faith. If you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything. Meaning, what is the thing that's holding you accountable? What is the thing that you look up to be able to have those conversations at night when it's just you? What's the thing that's allowing your morals, like where do your morals lie? And so what's your faith? For me, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And so, I have a conversation with God every single night. I pray
Mm.
every morning. I pray every night. I read the Bible every morning. I read the Bible every night. And that's what holds me grounded. And so everything that I do is for the kingdom of God. And so that's my faith. Number two, family. What are we doing it for? Right? Sometimes we get so caught up in growing in this career path and growing a business and making this and this money, but let's not neglect those who were actually been doing it for in the first place, right? Like, what's our why? What's our motivation? Are we trying to retire our parents? Are we trying to retire our grandparents? Are we trying to spend more time with our kids? Are we trying to be able to set up the next generation for success? Um, so faith, family, fitness. Fitness is everything. Today, I'll give an example right there. Today I did leg day. A lot of people don't like doing leg day. I did leg day today, and it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of pain to do legs, right? I look at the gym and there's a lot of people that their upper body looks strong and then they got the skinny legs. And I'm like, yeah, they're skipping out on that discipline, right? So fitness with health is wealth. Think about how many people right now, they have all the money in the world, but they're in the hospital bed right now and they wish they could give up that money for their health back. So
Yep.
faith, family, fitness, finances as well is very important, and also fun. Because at the end of the day, once you do all of those, you'll end up having fun eventually. So yeah, that's what the 5F formula.
Wow. That's powerful. I mean, it's just, and to be able to be so focused and intentional on thinking through, each of those. Uh, Maybe too personal, so so I apologize. But do you,
I love it. I would love it. Keep it transparent. Yeah.
do you have kids?
No, I don't have kids yet.
Yet,
Not yet.
I love it. Well, I was just curious about your childhood and growing up, single mom, and how do you think especially as you will have kids at some point,
Absolutely.
how that will affect you, look at how you raise your kids. Are you looking forward to that? Like, we just love to dive a little more into your story there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to have a big family. I want to have a lot of kids, right? Because at the end of the day, we were called to we were put on this earth to be abundant, to be fruitful by God, right? That's what we were called for. And so we're supposed to be able to multiply. We're supposed to have families. We're supposed to be a unit kind of. That's how we are as social creatures as well. And so for me, the reason why I want to have kids is because I want to pass on values. I want to pass on memories. I want to pass on traditions. I don't want my lineage and my legacy and my last name to just go just because I was selfish, right? And so, and not only that, at the end of the day, those are people that you get to bring into society that they can contribute to society, right? Because now you instill your children grow up and they can give back to the world in so many different ways. So for me, I want to have a lot of children. Obviously, that's up to my future wife, right? If she, eventually. But I think that it's a blessing, man. It's a gift from God. It's a blessing to have children. They're special. They're innocent, and with great guidance, they can achieve anything in life. And I think that at the end of the day, for me, obviously I grew up in a single household, but for me, when I want to start a family, I definitely want to have a two-parent household, because you know raising a child is not just kind of this easy thing, right? You want both balances. You want a very masculine energy, you want a feminine energy to balance out and create a very intelligent, educated, self-independent individual. Yeah,
Ah, that's powerful. And you think about you know, amazing women like your mom. I mean, absolute heroes. Having to have carrying both of those hats. I love that. Let's switch over kind of to your financial professional hat for a second. As you're walking, people through, looking forward. So many of us sometimes we forget to think about our future self, and we're only thinking about our current self or the one that messed up and got us to this place. How do you help your clients, think about the future, frame the future, look to the future, plan for the future? I love your thoughts on that.
great question. I just like to ask the hard questions.
Ooh,
I say, okay, perfect. This is where you are now, but let me ask you a question. Is where you currently are right now. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Assuming you don't make any changes, do you think you're gonna get closer or farther to your retirement goals? I just ask the hard questions. And because sometimes we're so afraid to ask the hard questions, and that's called accountability. And so I'm in a position, of course, now where I can ask those questions because I have the solutions to those problems. But, it's kind of like I'll ask one of my clients. I said, okay, perfect. Let's say that you're 35 years old. And I say, let me ask you a question right here, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect or Mr. and Mrs. Client. What's the best case and worst case you like to retire, right? When I say retire, I'm not saying that you're sitting at a park bench feeding bread to pigeons. I'm just saying like you have financial dependence. You could work if you want to, but it's not out of necessity. It's not out of freedom. And they tell me, well, best case, I'm 35 right now. Best case is 55. I say worst case is 60. Okay, I say perfect. Well, let me ask you a question. What do you want your retirement to look like? During your retirement year, starting at 55, let's start with best case. What do you imagine? Do you want to travel? Do you want to spend more time with family? Do you want to own land? Do you want to own properties? Like, what is it that you envision for your retirement? And I let my client just dream. We tend to forget to dream. We forget to envision our goals, and so they start dreaming. They start telling me everything. Man, you know what? I want to do this. 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 And I'm like, I'm happy for them. But then I go, well, let's bring it back to reality. Let me ask you a question. What do you think? What do you think you'd have to be earning on a monthly basis as a pension? What's worst case and best case to sustain that kind of retirement? And they tell me, well, I need this and I need this. And then all of a sudden, I start doing the math and I go, perfect. So let's just say from 60 to 90, okay, that's about, let's just say 30 years, right? So whatever it is monthly times 12 times 30, that's how much money you need saved up by the time you're 60. And then I take that 60 and I divide it by how many years is left from 60 to 35, and I divide it by 12 again. And that tells them how much they need to start making every single month starting today, or how much they need saved up by 60. And then they start looking at those numbers. They go, whoa. I go, how? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I go like this. I say, let's say you want 10 grand a month during your retirement years, right? So that's 120,000 a year. And let's say from 90 minus 60, that's 30 years, $120,000 times 30. That means that if you're 35 years old and you want to retire by 60, you need at least $3.6 million saved up by 60. And so I take 36 and let's say 60 minus 35, that's 25 years, $3.6 million divided by 25, divided by 12. That means they need to start making an extra 12 grand a month starting today. So they either need to make an extra 12 grand a month starting today, or they need to have $3.6 million saved up by 60. And I asked them, how far or close do you think that's going to happen with your 9 to 5 right now, or your 401k and your Roth IRA right now? And they go, it's not possible. And that's for the solutions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For
So
some,
what I'm hearing from you is we've got to be intentional. We've got it, because what you just walked us through is, a level of intentionality, because I think most people are, thinking about, okay, how do I, think about tomorrow? And it sounds like through some of these difficult questions, hard conversations, you're helping people go, okay, yeah, tomorrow is important, but 10 years down the road is important. And
yeah,
that 10
exactly.
years is going to be, you know, you're going to be able to pick how that's going to go based on your decisions today.
Absolutely. And I also tell them, I also say, hey, let's also talk about inflation. Just don't forget about inflation as well. And they go, oh. And so I think all the time, I say, look, people want change. I'm sure we can agree on that. People want a good life. People want the money, the houses, the family. They want everything, but people don't want to change.
Yeah.
Difference. People want change. People don't want to change. That comes with the discipline, the investing, the saving, the budgeting, the being intentional about the maybe the strategy you're using. Meeting with me, like maybe I meet with my clients every 6 to 12 months, and being able to show up and stay consistent with your plan. So yeah,
Boy, I love that. I was in a, most of my training is to financial advisors. So I'm in a room with credit union financial advisors last month, and we're talking about how do you communicate with your clients and the frequency and how much and all that kind of stuff. And a guy raises his hands and he's like, it is impossible to communicate with my clients because I have 900 clients. And I
yeah.
was like, okay, yeah, that would be absolutely impossible. Kind of curious from your standpoint with your clients, with your
Mhm.
firm, how do you guys think through your communication with them? Do they, is it in person once a year? Is there regular drip stuff throughout the year? Just kind of curious about, how you do some of that communication stuff.
Yeah, well, it's multiple things. Certain clients are more busy than other clients. They have their own schedules, and I would say that two things. Number one is I typically want to meet with my clients every 3 to 6 months just to check up on their portfolios and see what's going on. But also we have like kind of a drip thing that for their birthdays, for certain annual, for some of their anniversaries, things like that as well, just to remind them that hey, I'm here. I'm your best friend. Trust me. You want to be in communication with me if you want those goals we talked about, those hard questions we asked. And
Yeah.
then also you also want to delegate, right? We can't do everything, right?
Yeah.
So, as a business owner, I'm not necessarily, oh, look, we got some fireworks there. Here we go. All right. But as a business owner, you see, even the Zoom agrees with me. But as a business owner, I don't necessarily do everything, but you delegate, and you can have other professionals that are part of your team that represent you. They can have those conversations or send out those emails or those conversations. But then they meet with me over Zoom typically to make it very simple over Zoom. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. What have you learned? Because, probably a good amount of your business are the older generation, boomers, and so what have you learned about communicating to that age? And, has it changed over the last however many years you've been doing this? Would love to know you to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. So for a lot of the baby boomers, it's baby boomers want facts.
Mm,
Baby boomers want the numbers. Baby boomers are not here to hear the what's it called, the bells and whistles. They don't have time for that. The baby boomers, they want to know, okay, what's gonna work, what's not gonna work. Get straight to the point. Show me the numbers. What's the facts, and then present a solution. And so with the baby boomers, it's about efficiency and it's about information. It's about education. It's not about flashy colors. It's not about who smiles the most and the most pizzazz. It's like, okay, ma'am, Mr. and Mrs. Client, this is where you are right now. This is where you told me you wanted to be. I had the solution right here. I did the research, and this strategy right here is going to get you to your goals and XYZ time frame with X amount of money in the future. Okay, so out of these two right here, which one makes the most sense for your financial goals and what you're looking for, A or B? Okay, perfect. Well, in order to create A, we have to do XYZ. In order to do B, we have to do ABC, and that's it. And so with the baby boomers, they because they're in that era now where it's not about growth necessarily, it's about protection, and it's about being able to number one, avoid Uncle Sam with a lot of their retirement funds, but also be able to pass on their wealth to the next generation. That's what they work hard for. They didn't
yeah.
work hard to give 50% to Uncle Sam. And so they're just worried about time, and they're worried about efficiency, and they want information as soon as possible. So, and in person is better as well. In person, because Zoom is okay, but in person, we get to shake their hand and smile with them and let them know that you have something for them. It's even that much more better. They love that stuff for sure. And I would too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I've seen. That's really successful.
absolutely. So you just hit on something important. They want to leave wealth for the next generation. Talk to us a little bit about what you've learned about generational wealth and how, maybe the younger generations can start to, because you think I've got a son who's about to be married. And so, oh my goodness, he's, starting that season of life,
Yeah.
probably earlier the better when they start thinking about that generational wealth and, walk us through what you've kind of learned about that and how do you, give wisdom to clients.
Yeah, well, I would say number one, when it comes to generational wealth, it's not that difficult to be able to transfer money over to the next generation, right? If you
Sure.
set up the right strategies like a will and a trust, whether it's a revocable and irrevocable trust, that's the easy part. If that kind of makes sense, right? That's just kind of the paperwork. That's the right sitting with the right person, someone like me necessarily. The best way to pass on generational wealth is to sit down with the next generation and then instill those values. So when they do receive that money, they know what to do with it and then pass it on to the next generation. Statistically speaking, if let's say that you don't come from wealth and you build wealth, you could lose it in the first or second generation, statistically speaking. Either your
Mm.
kids or your grandkids are going to run away with it. And look, we have some balloons. I love this stuff. But either your kids, yeah, look at that, right? The
I don't know where
generations
it's
they don't.
coming from. That's great.
Yeah, but either your kids or your grandkids are going to spend it all. But look at the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers have been able to pass on 7 generations down, billions of dollars, 7 generations, because they instill the value of money. Money is just, remember, money at the end of the day is just energy. Money is just transaction. That's all it is. It's a means of transaction. So money doesn't even, it's not even backed up by anything, right? It's not even backed up by gold anymore. And so what money is attracted to energy. Money is attracted to those who understand money. And so if you can set up the right parameters, number one, first of all, wills, trusts, certain businesses, things of that nature. But then you tell your kids and your grandkids what to do with that money once they get it, and then do the same thing. It's your family set up for success. So I
Oh,
know for me, I'll give you an example. When I have my kids and when I have my kids from a young age, I'm going to start teaching about money, about finances, and what value is, and that time is not the only way to make money, and then how to preserve it, how to pass it on. And then my kids, when they grow up and they have their own kids, same thing. And what I want to do is I want to start maybe every summer, every year, is bring every single family member to this big summer camp, or maybe this big complex that's under my last name, and sit around the campfire and start instilling values and passing on memories
I
and
love that.
traditions on to the generation, and pass on the torch. That's what I want to
That's
do.
that's powerful. I mean, you think about it. For a few thousand years, that's how family stories were passed on. You talked about your faith
Yeah.
earlier on. I mean, for thousands of years, that's how the stories of the Hall of Faith in the Bible, stories of Jesus were passed on. They sat around campfires, around meals, and they passed on those stories. And so that would be an incredible legacy. As we kind of close this conversation, maybe speak to the leader who's been playing small. They want to take that step of faith. They want to start building wealth, or they want to take a step out to do a side hustle, or kind of do something bigger that they've been dreaming about than their regular 9 to 5. But they've just
Yeah.
been held back. Maybe if you could just speak to them with some encouragement, that'd be great.
I would say to that person right now who's holding back, I would say, remember, like, when you're holding back, you're not just holding back on yourself, you're holding back on the people around you that care about you the most. And so what happens is, I talk about the napkin kind of like situation, where if you have a napkin, right, or a piece of paper, there's 4 corners, right? And let's say you're in the middle. When you elevate yourself and you grow, if you pick up a napkin from the middle, what happens to all 4 corners? They all go up, they all lift up. And so if you play small, you're going to live small. And so what I would say is, at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt in swinging the bat. Look at baseball players. We talked about it earlier. Like, to be in the Hall of Fame, like, if you think about it, the ratio is kind of ridiculous. It's kind of crazy. Like, I think Babe Ruth struck out more than he hit home runs,
Oh
but
yeah,
he's in the fame. But imagine if he was afraid of strikeouts.
yeah.
If he was afraid of being of strikeouts, he would not be in the Hall of Fame. But you know how Babe Ruth is, the big Bambino. He swung, and so I think that there's no such thing as, and also people are afraid of failing. If you're afraid of failure on this call, and you're listening, you're like, but what if I fail? Just remember, failure. All fail means is first attempt in learning, and learning means growth, and growth equals happiness. If you're not growing, you're dying. And so go out there, try it, give it an at bat, and guess what? Worst case, you're right back in square zero. You didn't lose anything. And so for me, I said, well, if I swing and I swing for the fences and it goes over the fence, I win. And if I strike out, well, someone else has to throw another pitch because I'm gonna swing again. So go all out, because at the end of the day, your last name has to mean something. And one thing that I'll say is, remember, all the best stories, all the unwritten songs, all the unbuilt businesses, all the just like those stories that haven't been written, they're all in the grave. And you know why? Because those people didn't go for it. And
Oof.
and now that's where it lies. So I can't do that. And for those leaders, if you're a real leader on this call, if you're a leader listening to this right now and you have a flame inside you, don't let that flame go out, because if it's not up to you, you're gonna pass on that generational debt, that generational curse to somebody else.
Powerful. Boy, this has been powerful. Before I let you go, let me ask you a couple rapid fire questions. We're building this online library for leaders. Get different resources, different places to go get some inspiration. Is there a speaker that every time you hear this speaker, you just go, "Oh, I needed to hear that"? Somebody that you just highly recommend?
Oh man, let me see. I would say a good one right now, especially for this generation, is Patrick Bet David.
Mm.
Patrick Bet David is a big one right now, especially for the younger generation. I would say, let me see. Robert Kiyosaki is another one as well. Robert Kiyosaki, especially when it comes to money. I would also say, let me see. Oh man, it's slipping out of my mind right now. There's a couple of them. I like the rapid fire question. You put me on the spot right there. Um, he passed away, and he had glasses on. He's oh, John C. Maxwell's another one. John C. Maxwell is another big one, and
Those are
maybe if you
great.
know him, he has glasses. He has glasses,
No,
and
we'll think of it.
yeah, yeah. But those
Those
people
are
right
great.
there, yeah,
I love
those get me
PBD.
right.
Love each of
Yeah, Patrick.
those. Uh, if you're a podcast listener, not everybody is there a podcast that either, guilty pleasure, you loved listening to your gardening podcast, or, development podcast? Is there one you just kind of keep going back to?
I would say, let me see. There's a whole list of them. I have to pull up my library, but there's uh, there's the Ed Milet show. The Ed Milet show is one big one that I listen to a lot. That's another speaker that you could put in there. That Ed Milet, that's definitely a big one. I would say there's an actual podcast right now that I'm listening to a lot. It's called the Leaders Only Podcast
Mm.
by Matthew Welsh. Leaders Only Podcast. It's another big one. He's one of our personal coaches, a very successful young man in the industry. Everybody looks up to him. Leaders Only Podcast. I would also say, let me see. There's a couple. I'm gonna have to go through my library.
I
There's a
love it.
bunch.
No,
It's
those are
I'm
perfect.
absorbing information constantly.
Yeah. The last one then, is there a book that you just say, hey, every leader, you got to read this book?
Oh, easily. Think and Grow Rich.
Mm.
100%. Think and Grow Rich. If you have not read Think and Grow Rich and you are trying to make $1 million, oh my goodness, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and you're going to push that $1 million 10 years out. If you read Think and Grow Rich, you're going to bring it 10 years closer. I would say the 48 Laws of Power. I would say, I would also say Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I would say the Four Agreements. The Four Agreements, just because for most people, we get so caught up in human nature when it comes to achieving our goals and our dreams. And when you read the Four Agreements, it's such a basic book that breaks down the fundamentals of human nature that they'll let you go, let me just go all out. And then, and also I would say, oh, what's the other one? But those are the main ones right there that I
I
would
love
say
it.
are really.
I love it. This is, so many great resources. Where's the best place our listeners can go find out about you, connect, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the best place, the easiest one as of right now, just to make it super simple, is on my Instagram. You can find me at Zavala, Zavala underscore Edgar, Edgar 25. That's the easiest place. Click the link in my bio if you want to learn more about what is it that I do, the organization I'm a part of, the business that I'm part of, the industry I'm a part of. If you want to become a partner and maybe work alongside me, shadow me, learn from me, work alongside me, that's where you can click as well and just get connected with me. You learn more about my story, and everything's there from the beginning, from when I first started to where I am now. It's all there on Instagram.
I love it. Well, this has been an honor. You have just kind of opened up your vault of wisdom, and so appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing, what you've learned from, childhood on up. And I know this is going to really impact a lot of our listeners. Thank you again, Edgar.
Appreciate time. Thank you so much. So blessed. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Speak with People podcast. It means the world to us when you share this episode. Thanks for liking, subscribing, or following the podcast. That really does help the podcast get into more ears and into more leaders listening. Also, don't forget, we have 2 exciting resources for you. The first is go to Facebook and join the Speakers Group. This is a community designed for leaders who want to grow their communication skills. Also, go to speakwithpeople.com/skills library to access the Communication Skills Library. It is an online resource chock filled with resources that will inspire you and transform you and grow your communication skills. Thanks again for being a part of the listening community. We cannot wait for the next episode.